guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alyssa and I run this booktube channel. I still haven't gotten an intro, who knows, changes every time. So in this video I'm going to be talking about my August TBR and what I plan on reading. I am going to do more of a here's what I'm planning on reading, this is the title and the author of the book, and then my wrap up will be more of like what the book's about, because I like to go into my books a little bit blind. So basically just going to be telling you what I'm planning on reading. The first one is Dr. Sleep by Stephen King, and this is the sequel to The Shining, which I talked about in my July wrap-up. I didn't actually really enjoy, but it was because I was forced to kind of read it pretty quickly. I do really love Stephen King, and I have heard good things about the sequel, that it's worth a read. So I am going to pick this up this month, hopefully, and give that a read, because I don't like to leave series open. It's one of the reasons I don't read series, is because I have to sit and read through all of them at once. I can't just like space them out. So we'll hopefully be picking that up. Along those same lines, I did read The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo last month, and I do have the next 4 in the series, and I'd like to get to those 2 because again I don't like leaving series open, and so I do want to read through these and get to these. I have The Girl Who Played with Fire is the next one, the second one. The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest is the third one. The Girl in the Spider Web is the 4th one, and then The Girl Who Takes an Eye for an Eye is the 5th one, and then there is a 6th one coming out. I don't know the exact release date, but it's sometime this year. So then I have in August already read All the Light We Cannot See. I'll talk about it in my wrap up. This is by Anthony Doerr. This was recommended to me by a friend. I do like World War II fiction, but as a spoiler alert, I didn't like this book. So better wait for my wrap up to see why, because I'm definitely the unpopular opinion. Another book that I've already started and I'm actually almost finished with, this is 750 pages and it's August 6th. So I'm doing pretty good, having already finished one and almost finished with another. This is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. Now this movie adaptation is coming out soon, so I figured this was the perfect time to actually read through this book and get through it. And I am actually loving this book. So far, this is set to be my favorite book of the year, which is funny because in my July TBR, in my July wrap-up, I actually talked about my new favorite book, and this is actually set to actually beat that one out. I love this author's writing, and I haven't read anything else by her. I know she has 2 other books, The Little Friend and The Secret History, and both are, equally as good. And she only writes a book every 10 years. So unfortunately, since this one came out last year or 2 years ago, that means we've got 7 to 8, 9 more years before she writes another one, which is really sad, but this is so good, and I hope that the movie adaptation is equally as good as the book, which it never is. So give my thoughts on that and what this was about in my wrap up. The next book I have that I'd like to get to is Class Mom by Lori Gelman. I don't know what about this draws me in, but I like these types of like inside look at kind of drama. So like The Devil Wears Prada or Bridget Jones' Diary. I like reading about that drama and not having to experience drama in my life. I get my fill of that by reading it. And so I think that Petty Class Moms, I think that'll be really good and really interesting to me. I know that the second one, You've Been Volunteered, came out, and I own that one as well, so I want to read this, and then I'll obviously have to read the second one because I don't leave series open. But looking forward to that. I hope I get to this. Next up, I have 4 books that my neighbor actually dropped off. I was telling her we've been having a lot of issues with our other neighbors, and so we've been talking and collaborating about what we can do to resolve some of that situation. I haven't talked about it on my channel, but I live in a townhome and it's connected on all sides, so I have neighbors on each side and a neighbor behind me, and my neighbors behind me smoke weed and cigarettes literally 24/7, so it's like a fog around our home, and it smells so bad. Like, secondhand smoke is not a good smell, and I feel like I'm boxed into it, and so we've been collaborating on how we can fix that issue. But when she was over, she saw all my bookshelves and we got to talking about reading. And she has a daughter my age, so she's not even close in age to me, but we kind of bonded over our hatred of our neighbor and the smoke, and then the fact that we liked reading. And she dropped me off some books of authors that I have heard of, but I've never read anything by. So the first one is Digital Fortress by Dan Brown. And I've never read a Dan Brown book, but my best friend Cassidy loves Dan Brown and has told me you need to pick up a Dan Brown book like yesterday. And so in honor of her and because my neighbor dropped this off, I'm hoping that I can get to this. The next book she dropped off to me is The Body Farm by Patricia Cornwell, and she was telling me that Patricia Cornwell was a forensic anthropologist before she became an author, and so she writes from that perspective, which I find really interesting. I didn't like my anthropology class in college, but I think it was the professor that I had. He was very just dull and dry, but I do like forensics and I do have a background in that, so I think that this will be really interesting and I'm excited to read that. This is probably the first one that I'll pick up. The next one, she gave me the first book in the Janet Ivankovich series. I think they're on like 26. I think 26 just came out, but she gave me One for the Money. And so if I like this, I know that I can find all the rest of these at the library, and I think that she also has some of them, so maybe she'll let me borrow them. But I am looking forward to reading the first one. I know that Janet Ivankovich is an author that a lot of people really like, and I tend to like the formulaic novels that other people hate, like Jodi Picoult novels I really, really love, and other people hate them because they're written with a formula, and I like them. So I'm hoping that I'll like that. And then the next one is The Final Detail by Harlan Coben, which I haven't ever read anything by him, but I know that with his most recent release, I think it was called Runaway, that a lot of people, because it was in Book of the Month, a lot of people ended up reading him for the first time and really enjoying him. And so I do have that book from the library, and so hopefully if I have time I'll get to that, but I'd also like to get to this first because I am borrowing it and I want to get these back to my neighbor as soon as possible, and not be a good steward of what she's letting me borrow. So those are 4 that I hope to get to, and we'll wrap up in my video next month. And then my book club book, and one of my book of the month from July is Lock Every Door by Riley Sagar. I have read all of his books, Final Girls and The Last Time I Lied, and really enjoy both of them. Both of them are 4 stars because I don't often give 5-star thrillers. I know I sound like a dead horse. I'm beating a dead horse on that one, but I want to really emphasize that a 4-star read is still like an amazing read to me, but it's a 5-star to me is like, this was life-changing. I've never read anything like this. I want to read more of exactly this. And 4 stars is like, I really enjoyed this. I loved everything about this book. It just didn't change my life. So both gave 4 stars. Final Girls was my favorite of the 2, and I'm hoping that I really like this. I've heard really good things about this. Actually, I've heard really mixed reviews about this. I've heard that you either absolutely love this or people really didn't like this. It was their least favorite. And I think that a lot of the criticisms that I'm seeing regarding this book of people who didn't like it is that they didn't like the characters. And I am okay with unlikable characters. So I think that I'll probably still like this, and I'm hoping, since this was my pick and I'm hosting book club this month, I hope that people like this, especially since I'm kind of making my book club buy a brand new release, which we haven't done. We've done books that we can get from the library so far, so hopefully this isn't a big dull dud. And then another book that I'd like to get to, and I've had this on a couple of my TBR piles, I just haven't gotten to it, is How Not to Die Alone by Richard Roeper. And again, I want to get to this because it's being touted as the next Eleanor Oliphant Is Completely Fine, and I absolutely love that book, and I really just love the title of this, and I really love the orange cover. And it seems like the kind of contemporary that I'm going to give a 5-star. So I hope that I love this. I hope it's everything that I've built it up in my head to be. And yeah, so this is only, half of the books that I'd like to get to this month, but yeah, so thank you so much for joining my channel, and wish me luck on catching up on some of the things that I missed out on last month.